All right, guys, let's jump into section 3.2, which is area and volume. So our goal is to find area and volume. First, let's talk about the idea of area. Area is how much space something takes up. So if I was asking to find the area of this odd shape here, we could do it by counting the squares. So I'm going to literally just count the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 19, because those two halves are the whole. So that's one way to think about it. Another way is really irregular shape is to find the area of the total rectangle or square on the outside. So this guy is 4 by 4, which would be 16, but then we need to subtract out the white space. And so what they're doing here, this is an example of finding pieces that go together. So like this triangle and this triangle would mesh together to give you one, that's going to give you, let's see, 1 and 2. So that would give you the 2. And then like this one and this one, that gives you 1. This one and this one, that gives you 1. This gives you 1, this gives you 1. And this one gives you 1. So that's how they're subtracting out that space to get that answer. Example 7, find area of this guy. So we're going to look and just find the area of the rectangle that encompasses it, which is 3 by 4. To find area, you multiply. So that's 12. That's 12 squares. And then we want to subtract out all the rest of them. So that's what's going on here. They're subtracting out the area of these shapes. So like this is 1. This, to find the area of a triangle, you do base times height divided by 2. So this would be 1 times 2 divided by 2. So that has area of 1. This has area of 1. This area has a 0.5. That area is 0.5. That's 1. And then this is 3 times 2 divided by 2. So that's 3. So that's what that is. It's subtracting out all the area of the other shapes. This is talking about unit conversions, kind of like we did before, where a kilometer squared is 1 million meters squared, because if you remember, a meter is 1,000 kilometers. And so if we do 1,000 times 1,000, that's where you get this 1 million. So you're multiplying the units than earlier. So convert the following. 5 centimeters to millimeters. 5 centimeters, well, in 1 centimeter, there are, just explain. In 1 centimeter, there's 10 millimeters. Okay. But if I'm doing a centimeter squared, like 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, that would be 10 millimeters by 10 millimeters, which would give you 100 millimeters squared. So that's where this comes from. And if you remember, we want to put the units like this, where you can cross them out, so we get that 5,000. Convert this to kilometers squared. So if you remember, this looks confusing maybe, but it's what I would have done is I would have said 1 million meters squared is equal to 1 kilometer squared. And then it's the same thing. It's just multiplied by 0.000001. It's the same as dividing by 1 million from that chart before on the previous page. Converting English. So 1 foot squared is 1 over 9 yards squared. Let's talk about these things. I, again, will probably write it like this. 1 foot is 12 inches, right? So 1 foot squared is equal to 20, not 24, that's adding 144 inches squared, which we're going to multiply 12 times 12. And then 1 foot is equal to 3 feet is equal to 1 yard. So 1 yard squared would be equal to 9 feet squared. That's where those are coming from. And same idea with the miles. Acre, square mile, this is just kind of giving you something in measurement so you can understand how things are measured. A square field has a side of 400 meters. Find the area in hectares. So if I do 400 meters squared, this is square, I do 400 times 400, I get this. And then let me use this conversion. It says 1 hectare is 10,000 meters squared. So Again, I want to put the unit on the bottom to cancel. And so that's what we're doing here. We're dividing by the 10,000 because the 10,000 meter square is equal to the 1 hectare. A square field has a side of 400 yards. Find the area of the field in acres. So 400 times 400, well, 4 times 4 is 16, and then we're going to have these 2 zeros and 2 from the other 400. So I would give you 4 zeros. But then I'm going to take this, and how many square yards are in an acre? Well, let's look. It says there's 4840 square yards in an acre. So we would do 4840 square yards are in 1 acre. Because again, you want those units to cancel like this. That's why they're dividing by the 4840 to get that 33 acres. Area rectangle times width. Area with parallelogram is base times height. So you have to make sure you're using that perpendicular. Area of the triangle is base times height divided by 2. That's because it's half of a parallelogram. Find areas. Okay, so this is parallelogram. What is going on? We gotta look for the height. So it's an interesting way of doing it. We need to know the height is 4. So they were 10 times 4, which is 40 centimeters squared. And then this one is 10 times 4 divided by 2 because it's a triangle. So that would give this 5 times 4, which is 20 centimeters squared. And then this is also a triangle. And so interesting that we're doing height out there. I'm going to know this height. Based on this, it'd be like they did 4 times 2 divided by 2 to get 4 centimeters squared. Then I'll look at their assignment too to see how the heights are given. The area of a height can be found by relating it to the area of a rectangle. So height is 1/2 times d1 times d2. So that's these cross guys here. So that it's kind of like diameter. You want to think about like their distance. It's not diameter, it's not a circle, but that's the idea. The trapezoid is the average of the bases because you have 2 different bases. So instead of just base times height, you're taking the average of the 2 different bases and then multiplying by the height. So the area here would be, I like to think about it as just the middle base, right? So instead of multiplying 16 times 4 or 12 times 4, I'm going to average 16 and 12 and then multiply it by 4. So what's 16 plus 12 is 28 divided by 2 times 4. So I got 14 times 4, which gives us that 56. Same idea here. This is tricky. So this is 2, and then because these are equal, I get a split. So 8 minus 2 gives me 6. So that means each of these guys are 3. Since this is a 45-degree angle, then this is it's half of a square, basically. So that means that this is also 3. So they didn't tell us the height is 3, but the height is 3. So then to find the formula, I average the bases. So 8 plus 2 divided by 2, and then I multiply times the height. So that's 10 divided by 2, which is 5, and then 5 times 3 gives us that 15. A regular polygon has this formula here, 1/2 a times the perimeter. The area of a circle is pi r squared. The area of a sector is the part over the whole, which would be the degrees over 360 times the area of the circle, which is pi r squared. Okay, so with all this, I know it can get a little tricky, but hopefully once you start working the assignment, you will get a feel for how to find an area of different things. And as always, please reach out with questions.